Today on the Expert Showcase, coach, consultant, and public speaker extraordinaire, Irina Baranov, talking about your presence equals your success in work and life. Well, hello, Irina, and welcome to the Expert Showcase. How are you today?
I'm great. Pleasure to be here.
Well, glad to have you. We're talking about your presence equals your success in work and life. Tell me a little bit about that. What are we going to cover today?
Yeah, so presence is one of my favorite topics to talk about, and it's kind of like an under topic underneath the things that people say are pain points for them. So they can come in and talk about the fact that their management style or their leadership style or their personal relationships need to be improved. And there's a layer under that, and I say it starts with you. It starts with your presence. What are you bringing to the party? So let's really talk about that.
Excellent. And I know in prepping for the show, we talked about the fact that we're going to cover three main takeaways. So I just want to orient people so they know what's coming. We're going to talk about assess, we're going to talk about paint, and we're going to talk about plan. So I'm very intrigued by all three of these keywords here. So let's dive into assess. What do you mean in this assess phase, and how does that relate to your presence?
Yeah, so the assess phase can be done a couple of different ways. Typically people from the corporate world come in with a 360 and they say, here's my 360 and here's what the people around me are saying and here's what I agree with, here's what I don't agree with. So they have a ready-made assessment. Other people can take online assessments and kind of glean insights about themselves. Other people will do kind of a journaling, but the absolute best kind of assessment is what I call game film. Bring me actual game film of you being in the world. So whether that's a video of you fighting with your partner, whether that's a video of you giving a speech or heading a meeting, give me something to look at so that we can sit down together and say, oh, look at that. Because the stories that we tell about how we are in the world are often very different from the reality.
I love that, Irina, because you're so right? I mean, if you're relying on what I say about myself, I might be self-delusional. That happens, right? But the videotape doesn't lie. So if you've got actual recordings of, and I guess it depends on the kind of client you're working with on any given day, whether they have ready access to that. But that's a very cool concept. I'm not sure I've ever seen somebody really bring that game day film. I love it.
It's effective. It's helpful.
I totally believe it. Well, so you've got that assessment then. Hopefully they've got some of that game day footage for you that you can really kind of dive in and see what their presence is really all about. So what is this paint phase that we're talking about then? I mean, what do you do there?
Yeah, so the paint phase is once we have a really good picture of reality, which is, ouch, that's not always painless. They're not coming to me because everything is happy and wonderful. They're coming to me because there are some pain points. But once we get past that, once we know what that is, the other parts actually are really fun. So the paint phase is, let's paint a picture of how you want life to be. Of who do you want to be personally, who do you want to be professionally, how would you like the ideal version of that film to look? So we got the raw footage. How do you actually want it to look? What do the touchdowns look like, feel like? Who are you in that idealized vision of yourself, whether it's of yourself as a partner, a leader, a parent? Let's talk about and really paint a vivid picture of who you want to be.
So you're really crafting an image to put in their mind of the destination of where your work together is going to go, right? I like that too, obviously. So you've kind of shown that you've held up a mirror, whether that's sort of a stark reality or a slap in the face or a little cold water on those self-delusions. But now you're really fleshing it out, saying, hey, here's where we can go, right? Here's where we can get to.
Yeah, and get to actually, let me know if you're ready for the plan phase.
Yeah, well, I think that's the perfect segue, right? Because now we got to get there. So here's where we're starting. Here's your stark game day footage. This is what your presence really looks like.
Yeah.
Here's where we can get to.
Yeah.
How do we get there?
And get to actually are key words because oftentimes the image I use are two islands. So you've gotten a good sense of Island A. It's got some rubble, and you're kind of alone, and it's way too hot, and there you are on this island. And you've also painted a picture of Island B, which is inhabited by, lovely little creatures and beautiful flowers, and food is abundant, and you're surrounded by all sorts of attractive people doing all sorts of fun things together. So once you've gotten a picture of these two islands, the get to, that's the plan. So what's the boat? Who's the captain? What's that journey? What's the destination? That's the plan. That's the planning phase, and keeping that phase day after day, week after week, month after month, until you get to Island B and really live Island B is what we talk about, and that's the work.
And I know that in your work, you don't really let people get away with kind of a fluffy plan, right? It's got to be a realistic plan that actually has real paddles that can move through the real water that can really get you to that island, right?
Yeah, realistic and exciting. Like, if Island B is marginally better than Island A, I'm probably not the coach or consultant for you. I'm probably not. Yeah. Like, I really want to help people level up, and dramatically.
Well, and I'm guessing in that paint phase, that's exactly what you're doing, right? You're gonna, if their island is a little too small or a little too close, I know you well enough to know that you're going to help them paint a much bigger picture, a much more vivid picture, right? And then build this step-by-step plan to get there. Yeah. And that's then the real work that you're doing, as a coach or a consultant, depending on the kind of client, right? You're helping them then implement that plan in some kind of structured format, right?
Right, exactly. And sometimes the client is an organization. Sometimes it's not just a person. It's how do we want this team to feel? How do we want this business to feel? What is that image? What is that picture? And let's go take that journey.
Right. So the entity can be small or large that you're working with. I mean, it can be one-on-one coaching. It can be corporate consulting, right? I mean, it's really just the same principles apply.
Totally.
Absolutely. Well, I get it now. I now understand your title. Your presence equals your success in work and life. We've covered some real basic 3 building blocks of the process, showing people the presence in that assess phase, what do you look like right now, painting that vivid picture of the future, the destination you're trying to reach to, Island B, I love that imagery, and then building that plan, building your boat, building your systematic way of getting from Island A to Island B. So Irina is here to work with you if you are resonating with this island and you have a journey of your own to take to get there. Irina, I know people can get in touch with you. You have a wonderful website. It is irinabaranoff.com, and that's where we'll put that information up for people so they can get it to and get the spelling right. But irinabaranoff.com, lots of great information there about coaching, about consulting, about your public speaking, and people can get connected with you there. Irina, thank you so much for being our guest on the Expert Showcase. I know people have gotten some really good imagery about heading towards their Island B, right?
Yes, absolutely. And the final message that I would want to leave your audience with is it's possible. It's possible to live a different life than you're living today. It's possible to be in different and better relationships. It's possible to be a different and better manager, leader, parent, partner than you are today. It's possible. You don't have to let the past dictate the future.
Excellent. Well, we really hope you enjoyed that episode. So, Chris, what should people do right now?
Yeah, if you're a coach or consultant and you realize that starring on an episode of Expert Showcase is going to help put your business forward, what we want you to do is go to expertshowcase.com, click on the Apply button, and apply to be our next featured expert on the Expert Showcase. And if you're a coach or consultant and you've got a lot of content and you realize after watching this previous video that doing your own show would put your business forward even faster, then what we want you to do is go out to VideoContent.Agency, check out what we have to offer, contact us, let us consult with you, and let's design a program and a package around you and your content. I think that's about it. Did you have anything else, Mark? Dr. Mark, anything?
Just do what he said.
Yeah, not what he said.